Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lucas Live. Excited to be here with you again. We are here for another wonderful episode. We have another wonderful guest. We're going to talk, we're going to educate, we're going to motivate, we're going to liberate again today. If you're here watching the replay, thank you for being here. Glad you joined us. Don't go anywhere. Stay right there. Just watch it. Listen, play along, comment, even if you're watching by replay. Just have some fun and engage in the content. It's going to be worth your while today, I promise. We're going to have a great discussion with an HR professional. If you don't know what HR is and you're like, what? I know we got an HR department at my job, but I don't know what they do, what they're supposed to do. We're going to clear that up for you today so you understand what human resources is all about and what resources should be available to you. There's a lot going on right now, even in the news with the LGBTQ community winning in the Supreme Court today where they can't be discriminated against at work. And I don't know why they would be able to be discriminated against at work. I don't understand, even if you don't agree with their lifestyle or something. I don't know why a person would be discriminated against because of who they have sex with. I don't understand. Like, what's that got to do with your job? I don't know. So personally, I'm like, well, good. I mean, why would, as a person and from a group of people who are discriminated against, I'm just not a big fan of discrimination. Granted, people have different opinions about that. There's my opinion. Okay, so excited to talk about that and other things today. Hopefully, if we have some time today, we are going to talk a little bit about why are you single. It's a topic we started a week ago, and we had a great show about it. And I think we may have a little time today at the end of the show, so I do want to talk about that a little more. It's been a great discussion. I've had other posts about it. Others have commented, and it's just been something that I think is so important for those that are single who are interested in trying to work on themselves and figure out what's going on with the rest of the world, because sometimes they're like, I kind of got my stuff together, but I can't find anybody out there that has their stuff together. So we're going to work on that. We're going to talk about that. I also have people who are hitting me up about doing a Lucas Live Love Connection. So stay tuned. I would love to do something like that. I even have some guys reaching out to me finally. So that's super cool. So I'm excited about that. If we'll do the LTL Love Connection, I think somebody called it. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But it's something that I'm really excited to do. For those of you who know me, my passion, probably one of my greatest passions is helping people have healthy relationships. I think it's not mandatory. You don't have to get married. It's fine. If there are people tell me like, I don't want to get married or I want to be single, great. Like, no big deal. You are not, let me say this. You are not sick because you're single. Single is not a sickness. Single is not, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Especially if you want to be single, that's even better. I mean, that you're happy. And if you want to be with somebody, I hope that you're happy with where you are right now while you work toward what you want. So, that's just my opinion. That's what we'll talk a little more about it. I'd love to hear more from you guys about those things. Definitely a topic that I'm passionate about. We also want to continue to think about, support the Black Lives Matter movement. Not just the organization itself, but the concept that we are living in a day and age where we got a woke generation. Shout out to even the generation younger than me. I mean, I just can't. I'm so proud of my daughter's generation and younger. And I mean, they're not playing. They ain't backing down. They ain't sitting down. They are not stopping. And we all need to be behind them. And we all need to support. And we all need to play our role and do our part to continue to bring awareness to these issues. As a black man in America myself, I can tell you that I have faced discrimination. I've faced racism. I've faced being followed around the store. I faced pulled over by the police. Just nonsense. Never got a warning. No police officer ever is like, oh, you can have a warning. Oh, you can go. No, it doesn't matter. I've been pulled over on my way to church, and they was like, and here's your ticket. Okay, so I know the pain. I know what it's like. And also, I have young children. I have children various ages, but my children, I have to be concerned about them, and I have to have conversations with my kids that somebody else is not having with their kids. And I shout out to my white friends who have been honest about that. They're like, I can't imagine what that's like. I can't imagine what it's like to have to tell your child everything to do just right if they get pulled over. Because getting pulled over for a black man in America is scary. Like, it's not just the nerves, because everybody, I think when we get pulled over, our nerves are kind of going. You get that anxious, nervous. You're like, how fast was I going? Because that's the first question. You know how fast you were going? Like, no, do you? I don't know. Like, with the rest of the people. I remember I was driving to Columbus one day, Columbus, Ohio. I'm from Ohio. And I was driving to Columbus, and I was flowing with traffic, right? Like, I don't know. I always thought that was a thing. Like, I'm just flowing with traffic, right? And I'm right with everybody else. I'm not going any faster or anything. I'm just going where everybody else is going. I'm just flowing. And they pulled me over. And I was like, I was just going with everybody else. Like, all of those people were clearly going the same limit or the same speed or faster than me. What's up? And the officer was like, well, they must have hit their brakes. They must have slowed down when they saw me. Like, what are you talking about? Like, shut up. But anyway, I was pulled over. No, no mercy. No, I got a ticket. And sadly, as a black man in America, when I get pulled over, it's not just about a ticket. It's about protecting my life. It's hoping that I make it home. And that is such a sad state of affairs that we are in right now in 2020 in the United States of America, supposedly the greatest nation ever in the history of the world. We got a problem. Houston, we have a problem. But shout out to everybody who's stepping up, standing up, speaking up, voting, doing their census. Come on, y'all. We got to register. If you are not registered to vote, get off the broadcast and go register to vote right now. Right? Go vote. I'd rather you go register to vote. You can't go vote today, but you can go register to vote. I'd rather you do that than even watch this. Now, really, I want you to stay. I don't really want you to leave my show, but you know what I'm saying? That is more important. I'll be here, okay? But sadly, if some of the things don't change, I may not be here, right? So we need to vote. We need to make sure we're doing our census. Don't take those things for granted. You can do your census online. Talk to your board of elections. Make sure you register to vote. If you are registered and you're like, yeah, I've been registered. I just moved around the corner. Don't take it for granted. Make sure you register at your new address. Or if you moved across the state, across town, I don't know where you moved to. Make sure you register to vote because November will come around. And actually, it's before November. There'll be a deadline. And if you haven't registered, they'll say, sorry, it's too late. And you will just be a victim of whatever happens. And your voice won't be heard. Too many people fought and died for us to have the right to vote. So let's make sure we do that. Shout out to our audience here. I see those of you making comments. Please make comments. Please share, ladies and gentlemen. You haven't shared the broadcast yet? Just share it. Don't do a watch party, though. If you're on Facebook, if you do a watch party while we're live, you create a separate room, and everybody gets sucked over into this little mystery room, and they're all over there together, and they're like, hey, why aren't they commenting on our comments, and why don't they talk to us, and Lucas must not like us, and that's not true. The problem is they're in their own little party, a little watch party, and they're watching from their own window. You know how you peek out your blinds when your neighbors is acting crazy, and you be peeking out, and you be like, got a little watch party? Anybody else? Just me? I'll be looking out. Something going down? You don't want to open the door. You can't just walk out on the porch. You got to peek through the blinds so you can see what the neighbors is doing, right? So that's what a watch party does. It creates a separate little space for people to peek. You want to welcome them into the party. You want to just share the broadcast wherever you're watching from, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. Share the broadcast so that people can come into the room and be a part of this show tonight. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate all the shares. All the shares have led to a lot of views. All the views have led to a lot of great things. And more great things are going to come your way. I promise. We are going to have great ways to give back to all of you. And also, if you have not joined the Inner Circle, I see you guys in here. Whoa, I see somebody. Shannon Kimball, thank you for being here. Awesome. I see you. She just made a nice post there. I'm going to read that. It was long, but shout out to Shannon. Thank you for being on the broadcast. You guys read that broadcast. If y'all watching on Facebook, y'all check out what she just said. If I stop to read it, I'm going to slow the whole show down. But I'm glad she's talking about this and some of the issues that are going on in the teaching moments that she's had with her son. Thank you so much for sharing that. As I scan through it, Sharice Grantham, JJ Lilly, Keisha Warren, Amanda Jean Dukes. Thank you for being here. Shout out to the producer of this great show, Amanda Jean Dukes. She's there on Facebook. Christina Sanders, my cousin, thank you for being here. She was in the car with me that day when I got pulled over going to Columbus, right? And I think they wanted to see her ID too. She's like, I ain't driving. What you doing? Leave me see my ID. I could be anybody or nobody. You leave me alone. But it was just a mess. Shout out to Tyler Thatcher. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. Thank you for all the love. Tyler, hit share on YouTube. Try that. Tap the screen. Hit share. You've been watching this on your TV and stuff, so I might mess you up. Let me not mess you up. But if you're watching on your screen, you can tap it, hit share, and then text this link to somebody and say, hey, where you at? What you doing? Check out Lucas Live tonight. Come see what we got going on over here. So thank you so much, Tyler. Thank you, everybody, for your comments and for your love. You are so appreciated. Thank you for being a part of the family. Thank you all who have joined the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle has done a survey for me, and I'm going to be sending it to those who recently joined about our Lucas Live morning show. Ladies and gentlemen, are you guys excited? I hope you're excited about the Lucas Live morning show. We're going to get the day started right with a lot of excitement, great guests, great conversation, and get you guys some education, motivation, liberation first thing in the morning. So that'll be coming up very, very soon. We're going to have actually a morning show episode, I believe, this Wednesday. We're working on producing one. We got to produce it. We got to make it happen. So we're looking at doing a morning show this Wednesday. We also have some great guests this week, including this evening. You guys want to stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. You want to be a part. We're also going to be doing another giveaway this week. So please, please, please continue to stay tuned. You never know what's going to happen here on Lucas Live, and you never know when you're going to have a chance to win. So please continue to participate, and make sure you join the Inner Circle by texting Lucas Live, all one word, to 31996. 31996 is so easy. All you got to do is type in 31996 and type in Lucas Live, and you will be good to go. So I want to not take up any more time. I want to bring on our guest today. As I said before, she is an HR professional. This is important, whether you're working for a company or building your own business. If you don't understand what HR and what the human resource department is supposed to be doing and what they're all about, and some of the functions and some of the positive things they can do for you, you're missing out. You may be in a situation at work that is not fair to you, but you don't realize that there are advocates within the company that is a department that should be built in to meet your needs, to serve you, to help you, to also helps with education and development and other parts. It's something that I've worked in for many years, is HR, doing leadership development consulting. That's what I do in my Tyndale training business, along with relationship training and coaching and LinkedIn training and coaching. I also do leadership development training and coaching for companies, and I have some cool companies coming up that I'm going to be working with, so I'm really excited about that. So you guys, welcome to the show. Our guest today, Miss Antisha. Thank you so much. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Lucas. I am great. Wonderful.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So glad that you are here today. So glad we were able to connect. And I'm excited to talk about this today. This is a topic that I'm definitely passionate about as well. HR, human resources. So let's start a little bit with you just telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey. How did you get into HR?
So that's a very interesting story, actually, or at least I think so. It started for me when I was in the military. I was a meteorologist in the United States Air Force. And as you know, probably, whenever you're in the military, you have additional jobs and additional roles. And so one of the things that I was tasked with doing was creating a schedule for a group of employees, or a group of airmen. And so at the time, what we were doing, we were working with about 12 people. Those 12 people, some were coming in for 8 hours, some were coming in for 12 hours, some were coming in for 4 hours. And of course, you get the whole, well, it's not fair that I work 12 hours and someone else works 4. So that kind of started it all for me. And I realized very, very early that I kind of like figuring out ways to make people happy in the employment sector. So just a little bit about me, and I'll get a little bit more into how I developed into being the owner of Make the Change, my own, HR consultancy. But I'm just a small town girl from the city of Moss Point in Mississippi.
All right.
I love the South. I have traveled, a lot, and I found myself right back in the South, in Mississippi, and now I'm back in Texas. So I'm living in Texas. And so I've been a little, around a little bit, but no matter where I've gone, HR has always pulled me in and just had my attention. And so one of the things that I always tell people is when it comes to HR, we are supposed to be liaisons, not just liaisons between management and the employees, but we're also supposed to be liaisons for employees in information and for potential employees in the company. So the biggest thing I tell people when they ask me, what do you do? I'm a liaison and I'm a people developer. And so whatever that requires, that's essentially what I do. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. A people developer, a liaison, somebody who is there. It's funny that you have a love for it, that it's not just a job, right? That you love doing it. Why do you think that HR is something that you love doing as opposed to it's a cool job, but what is it you think from your life or your background that really resonates with you with HR?
I think a lot of it, Lucas, has to do with my personality. I am a people pleaser, and sometimes that cannot be a good thing.
In some situations, it's all good.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not a good thing, but in HR, it actually does end up being a good thing because as you know, sometimes HR professionals are not there for the right reasons, and that comes across. And so people don't see them as being approachable. No matter what, no matter where I've been, I've always been seen as someone who is approachable once, someone speaks to me. And so in HR, it's been really, really great because my personality allows me to be able to open up to people and then people to open up to me. I remember being young and people would always just come and talk to me. And I started realizing, I'm not asking for you to come talk to me. I don't even know that I'm smiling, but for some reason, people always felt safe. They felt safe with me and able to share things. And so in HR, that's what a lot of employees don't have. I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to employees and of different companies, and they're like, I don't have an HR person I can go to. I mean, they come in, they show up, and they go home. If we ask questions, it takes forever for them to get back to us. And one of my strengths from all of the employees I work with, they say is that I'm very responsive. And
Right.
so, just being responsive, making sure that you're available, making sure you have the information and the knowledge. And for me, having personal experiences and seeing how to work with people and having friends, having family members who I did, listen to and was able to talk to, I'm able to translate that in the field. So when I go to HR, I'm like, when I was talking to my brother or when I was talking to my friend, this advice helped. So I can do the same thing. And so, just so many things throughout my life have made the field of HR just resonate with me. And the training and development part, I mean, that is all of who I am. I'm always trying to be better myself so I can always share information with others about what I did. So
I love it. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about race in the workplace, if you don't mind. You've been in the South quite a bit, and I'm sure you've seen and heard some things. So it's difficult, right? Because a lot of times, especially as Black people, we're trying to, better ourselves and move up in companies, and sometimes there's barriers and things. If I am at my job and I feel as though I'm being passed on for promotions and or opportunities because of my race, who do I call? What do I do? What's my first step, Miss HR professional? What do I do?
the first step is if you're not comfortable talking to your manager, because a lot of people feel that, there's a chain of command or a management chain, and that's great. I believe in those too. But sometimes you may not be comfortable going to your manager or your supervisor. But if you feel like you're not being promoted, if you feel like you are not receiving some of the same benefits and treatments of other people, one of the things that you can do or should be able to do is go to your HR representative. If you don't have an HR, most places have an HR department, but if you don't have an HR person that you can go to that you feel comfortable with sharing that information with, or that you already know that they're not going to listen to you and give you that time when it comes to race, there's protection that you have through Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
Okay.
You can go to the EOC, you can let the EOC know, you can file a complaint.
EOC is who? EOC sounds like a rapper. Who is the EOC? The DOC?
It's the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Okay.
And you can look up EEOC.com. Information is there. The EEOC will also let you know what you can do if you do have, problems going to your HR department. So there are options out there for you. There are things out there for you. Even if it's not within your company, you can talk to any person in HR that you may trust. There are several HR networks. You can go to a network by the name of SHRM. That's the Society for Human Resources Management. You can get access to that. Some of their things are not member-based, so anyone can, get access to that. And you can find out, what do I do? Just Google it. What do I do if I feel like I'm being discriminated against or harassed based on my race? There's so many options out there and resources for you.
That's awesome. I think so often we don't know what our resources are. And so we do things that are not helpful, right? So often when people are upset at work, they talk to their peers about what they're upset with at work, and they don't go through any of the proper channels. And then by the time they maybe try to, it's a mess. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about that. So I have a problem at work. It's much easier to talk to my peers at the lunch table, at the, we go out to lunch, then around the coffee pot. It's much easier to be like, Larry crazy, right? Our boss is stupid and I can't stand them and they don't like me because I'm not like them in some way. So what would you recommend to somebody who has a problem at work and they're circling and circling and circling around everybody at work, but not addressing it with those that it needs to be addressed with? What would you recommend?
So the first thing I would recommend is that they stop doing that. They say
first off, y'all, cut it out.
First off.
Very good. First of all, what you ain't going to do is keep talking about your boss and think you're going to have a job. All right. Very good.
Right. So one of the things that people often do is they talk and talk and talk, and they want something to happen, and nothing ever does. And so, you've heard it. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard it before. The definition of insanity is what? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Absolutely.
So if you're continuing to talk to your colleagues, your coworkers, your friends even, and nothing is happening, that's kind of on you. But, you talk, Lucas, about resources. You may not know what resources there are, for you, and that's on your HR person if you have one. That's on your manager, So one of the things that you should do is go to your management chain. If the issue is with your manager, so if you're talking about your boss, you're not going to go to your boss and say, you know what, I didn't like what you said. I do
I'd like to
not
make a
recommend.
report to you about you. Don't do that. Okay. Okay.
Right, you
I'm
don't
gonna
do
write
that.
that down. All right.
But a lot of places do actually have employee manuals, personnel policies, personnel manuals. So, take a look at your employee policies and your personnel manual and see if there's something in there that tells you what to do if you're having a problem with your manager, or if you're having a problem and you feel like your manager won't be able to resolve that. All of the time, you should be able to contact your human resources department to find out, what your options are. Also, don't be afraid to have the conversation with your manager. I've had a lot of employees that I've worked with over the years who felt like, oh, my manager is just so unapproachable and they're not going to listen. And I'm like, have you tried? And they're like, no. I was like, well, where do you get that from? And they're like, well, so-and-so said. Well, you don't know what so-and-so's history is with that manager.
Right.
So you try that for yourself. And I'm not saying in every situation that will work, but it's kind of like you have to put yourself in their shoes. What if someone had all this information about you that they had never experienced, but they wouldn't come and talk to you about a problem? You wouldn't like that either. So try to talk to the manager. If you know, though, that that's not going to work, go to HR. HR should be able to help you. And if HR can't help you, then depending on what it is, you may be able to contact EEOC or contact your corporate office to go a little bit further.
I thank you for saying that, and I like that you called out the employee manual, the employee handbook. When we get a job, they hand us this manual, or they make us look up this document online, and they make us sign off that we've read it. And I ran a company for many years, and I know good and well 99.999% of people didn't read not nail. Only word they read was, when do I get vacation, and how long, when can I call off, and they read a couple little perks, but they didn't read that thing to know, like, the manual was leveraged the company against the employee. Not to be mean, but in a sense, right, it's written by the company's employees. I'm sorry, it's written by the company's attorneys. So it's written to protect the company. It ain't really written to, not that it's all bad, but in a sense, you have to read it to know what your rights are. Now, there are some civil rights. There are some rights that we have that have to be expressed and such. And so those are in there. But a lot of people don't know that. So talk to us a little bit about, what do we do? We're starting a new job. There's some things. First of all, I'm assuming we should read the manual. You correct me if I'm wrong. And then what if I see some things I have some concerns about, but I want this job? What would you recommend I do as far as questioning some of these things?
So that's a really good question. And one of the things that I tell people all the time is, when you do start a new job, because sometimes they actually go over the employee manual with you prior to you signing that final document. Right. And so if you have questions, if you have concerns about what's in that document already, that may be a sign that you need to either have a conversation with somebody before you sign it, or you might want to walk away. Because there may, you'll be amazed. Well, you probably wouldn't be, Lucas, but people will be amazed at how many personnel policies have racist things in them.
Really? I'm surprised. Hold up. What are you talking about?
Listen, let me tell you.
What? Go ahead, girl. Let me sit back. Where my tea at? I didn't know. What?
It's those soft, little, subtle things that says, you can't do this or you can't do that. And I'll tell you one of them specifically. So I actually had this situation when I was working for, started working for a company, because I had dreadlocks. This was years. These are reattached, okay. But years ago when I first started. So what happened is, they hired me. Everything was fine. And about 2 months later, they came and told me that dreadlocks were not a natural hairstyle, and that I couldn't wear them, and that if I didn't cut my hair or perm it or something like that, that they were going to let me go. And I said, this is interesting, because I read the employee handbook. And so what they were correct about is, they did have in the handbook that the hairstyles had to be of a natural color. Did not say of a natural style. And so they were relying on that natural piece, natural color, natural style, to be able to say that, hey, black girl, you can't wear your dreadlocks. And so I said, okay, if that's what you all want to do, I will talk to my attorney, because the way I read that and the way most people will read that is exactly the way you have it written, not the way you want it to be interpreted. So you can turn around and say, oh, you're working too hard, too fast, and too good. Now we have to find a way to get rid of you. So that's somewhat of a racist kind of undertone to say that you can't have your hair has to be of a natural color, because Blonde for me may not be a natural color. So are you saying I can't wear my hair blonde because I'm an African American female? Now I do know that there
Mm.
are some people who have blonde hair, but it's things like that that you really have to pay attention to that are in some of these employee manuals, and people don't know it. So again, your first question, I recommend, to answer your first question, I
Hmm.
recommend that you read page to page, front to back, what that employee manual says, because you can find yourself in a situation where they are holding you accountable for something that goes against everything that you are and everything that you believe if you don't read that manual.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head with what you said. And then my friend Dave Woods here. Thank you, Dave, for being here, and thank you for your input. Shout out to Dave Woods. He's also an HR professional and someone who's very well versed in this area in so many ways, and is working to help more and more people. But he said in many cases, company policies are designed to keep employers from being sued, but presented as employee rights. And here's the crazy part. I know that for a fact because I worked for a company and I ran the company. So I met with the company attorneys, and every time somebody almost got something over on us, we met with the attorneys again. We're like, we got to rewrite the rules. We got to rewrite the handbook. Oh, Lord, we in a bad. And I didn't know any better. I was young in business, and I'm thinking, oh, this is how we do it. I guess, like we have to protect ourselves. And not that a company doesn't have a right to protect itself from frivolous lawsuits. Fair. Okay. I'm a business owner myself. I don't want to be getting sued over silliness. But at the same time, as Dave said, it's sometimes presented as one thing, but it's really something else. And we see that so often in this great country of ours where things are presented in one way, but it's really about something else. Even so much so that I love what you pointed out is that there are things put in there from a racist agenda, from a racist standpoint, that they just pepper it in there, right? And it sounds all good and all normal, but it's wrong. Now, I want to talk about today, again, the Supreme Court upheld or a ruling on the LGBTQ community. And they said that they cannot be discriminated against at work. They cannot be fired for being gay, lesbian, transgender. That is wrong. Now, to me, when I heard that, I thought, this is me. You tell me what you think. I thought, why in the world would somebody get fired, or how in the world could I how could that be right for me to say, oh, you're gay, get out of here, you can't work? Like, I don't get that. Like, I had a hard time. Now, maybe if it's a faith-based organization and like the values and things don't align, maybe there's some ruling for that. But even then, I don't know. Like, to me, it's like such a hard thing because I just struggle with discriminating against people when they have the skill and ability to do a job. How do I justify not using them because of who they have sex with or because of the color of their skin? Now, I done slanted your answer. So please don't be afraid. If you disagree, let's have a great debate. That would be awesome. But tell me your thoughts on this ruling today from the Supreme Court that really upheld the Civil Rights Act and said that it would be wrong to fire somebody based on their sexual orientation.
So Lucas, I was at work on a call today when I saw that, and somebody, emailed it to me. I saw the link, and I actually did a happy dance right there. I was so happy. Let me tell you why. So first of all, I have so many friends. I have family members who are, of the
BTQ.
LGBTQ community. I'm sorry, talking too fast.
That's okay, right? It's a lot of letters.
Yeah. So one of the things that was very, very important for me was to know that I could share that with them and say, you know what, like we have been fighting for you. But I want to say something, because you asked the question, like, why would somebody do that? It's just another form of hate. That's all it is.
Wow.
It's another form of hate. And it's because people are sometimes uncomfortable with certain things that they really have no reason to even be uncomfortable about. Now, a lot of people are saying, and I've read so many different articles and comments, since that ruling came out, and people are saying, oh, the company's going to go to crap and blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, why would you say that? And some of the responses have simply been, well, sexual harassment is going to, increase. Well, actually, sexual harassment of people in the LGBTQ community is a problem. Right? It's not the other way around. And so, it's really unfortunate that people have all these, preconceived notions and all of these biases and just this hate.
Yes.
And so I am super excited, and I'm glad that the Supreme Court ruled the way that they did. And like I said, I've always been a supporter of anything that is right for employees. And that's just right. Like,
right. I agree. It's just right.
Go ahead.
No, it's just right. It's just right. It's just, and I don't care. I have my own beliefs and according to my faith and all of that. But I don't have any right to judge people. I don't have a heaven or hell to put people in. To the book I read this book called the Bible, and what I keep reading over and over in there, what it tells me to do is love people. That's all I keep seeing. Every time I turn around, it tells me to love people because I'm not even worthy of the grace that I'm given. So who am I to not extend grace to others when I've already been extended grace? Who am I? I'm homeless and I get a shelter, but I'm going to start discriminating against who gets a shelter. I don't deserve what I got. So who am I to judge these people? I don't have to agree with certain things or whatever. None of that even matters. And the more I look at it, the more I think, man, it's going to be a lot of us answering for our hate rather than for our sexual orientation, right? And likewise in business, we can't. I just think it's a horrible thing to think that people were fired because of who they choose to date or love or whatever it is. Like that has nothing to do with your job.
And we are so far behind in this country. We're supposed to be a leading country. We are so far behind than so many other countries. And I actually have to. On my day job, my current job, I actually have to every year, a couple of times a year, facilitate a training on sexual harassment and discrimination prevention. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I talk about is the LGBTQIA community. And people are like, well, what rights do they have? And, I remember in 2018 saying, well, it's kind of going before, the courts now to determine if they have rights or not, which I hated to even have to admit that person. But last year I was like, well, we're getting closer. There's, some reforms, there's some things out there. There's, support groups. And then today, when this came out today, that's some of the people I was telling you were emailing me and were like, yes, we got this because they know I've been pushing for it. But it was so late in the game. We're so late. We're so far behind, but it is here. And I'm just happy to see it be, what it is today.
Thank you. And let's talk a little bit about sexual harassment because I also am I'm very pro female. My wife and I have so many conversations, and I've just had so many female friends over the years who have been mistreated in so many ways in our society, and it just saddens me. And as a father, and it just saddens me to know how women have been often treated poorly in our country, and it's something that even in the highest levels of government. We hear people are accusing people of sexual harassment and nobody does anything about it. It's like, oh, well, she's complaining. Or then we start doing a smear campaign to be like, oh, she did something wrong or something like that. Help us understand a little bit as an HR professional, somebody who's been doing this a long time, what do you see as far as trends and what's happening with sexual harassment and what should we know about it?
So one thing that's really important, because a lot of people think, okay, sexual harassment, it happens, for women. Sexual harassment happens for men a lot as well.
Okay, great
point. Believe it or not. And one of the one study
educate us now. Education, motivation, liberation. Let us know. Let's go.
All of the above.
I love it. Let's do it. I love it.
So there is a study out there, and there's information on the EEOC's website, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's website, that supports this as well. But one of the reasons why it seems that there's a lot less cases of sexual harassment in the male community is because they don't report it.
Right.
They do not report it. And so do I think that it's on the same scale as, women? Absolutely not. But one thing I do have to say, and, being a professional woman, in HR specifically, I hate to say this about us as women, but the more we've seen ourselves or found ourselves in, positions of authority, the more men are becoming sexually harassed. And men are starting to report it. And so people will say, well, that's because of this, or men are weak, or whatever. Wrong is wrong. Again, like I said before, right is right, wrong is wrong. So I don't care if it's male, female, or what. So, one of the trends is, we're starting to see, more men being sexually harassed. We were also talking about the LGBTQ community. We're starting to see, more in that community, LGBTQ community to also be harassed. And it's more of, it's a little bit different. The harassment looks different. So with the man and a woman, harassment, it's like the man is saying to a woman, I want you to do these things, or, take me out, or they may touch them, or they may look at them inappropriately, or they may do the cat calling, as, my parents call it, right. Those types of things. The same thing, for women to men. But when it's someone who is discriminating or harassing, someone in the LGBTQIA community, what that looks like is they're talking about them or harassing them because of their choice.
Oh, wow.
That's what we're seeing. And so that's one of the reasons why, the community now is like, I'm so happy that this happened, because it's more than just promotions. It's more than just being fired. It opens up so many more rights and more privileges that they do have that they should have had all along. So those are some of the trends that we've been seeing, and I've been seeing specifically, over the last, 5 years.
That's great information. One, thank you so much for pointing out the fact that men are being sexually harassed, and I am sure it's a very difficult thing. It's like a man being physically abused, sexually abused. We're looked at as stronger, so it's like, how could a woman have raped you, molested you, sexually abused you? How could a woman have physically assaulted you? How could a woman in power, have sexually harassed you? You're a man. Come on, man. You didn't like it. Come on, right? Wink, wink. Come on, let's play the game. It's cool, right? But it's not cool. Right is right and wrong is wrong. So I love that you pointed that out. And like you said, as women are becoming in more positions of power, sadly, this is happening more. Again, probably nowhere near at the level that it's happening to women. And there's a lot of women out there who are not reporting because, again, what do they do? Who do they tell? What went wrong? Then it's like any other abuse where there may be a level of guilt or shame or whatever may be going on there. And I just want to advocate for everybody out there who feels that they are being treated improperly for any reason, discriminated against, harassed. You should have an advocate in your HR department. And if you don't, there are other steps you can take, with the EOS and others who can help you with your situation so that you can feel safe at work, right? We need to feel safe at work. That's so important. So thank you for touching on that. Now let's talk a little bit about training. There's a lot of people working in a lot of companies that get into positions and they are ill-equipped to handle the duties that they have. Somebody taught them how to make the widget really well, and they're a really good widget maker. And then all of a sudden, somebody says, you should be the leader of all widget makers. And all of a sudden, we have a miserable boss. And, we're having a problem. And it's like Horrible Bosses, the movie. And we don't even want them to be around us at all. So help us understand what your role in doing some training and why you're so passionate about that.
So one of the reasons why I'm passionate about it is exactly what you said. I don't want people to be thrown into positions where they're not equipped. They don't have the proper tools. They don't have the proper knowledge. They don't have the proper training, because it's going to lead to exactly what you just said. And that's somebody not being happy. It's going to lead to burnout, but also it's going to lead to the people that they are who report to them. They're going to be unhappy as well. No one wants to work for someone who's not happy, and no one wants to work for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And so it's extremely important for HR to be able to say, okay, this person is not ready. There are so many parts that HR has, so many roles that HR has in even that decision, or should have in that decision. I do know there are some people that are like, well, we'll handle our own. We don't want, HR to be involved. And that's the absolute worst thing that you can do. Unless you got a bad HR person, then you need to figure that piece out.
You might want to run.
Right. But what you should be doing before there's any promotion, there should be a conversation. There should be a conversation with your HR manager, director, your HR, specialist, generalist, whatever it is. There should be a conversation with them to talk about, if this person is ready, is this the person that should be promoted? Are we discriminating against anyone by promoting this person? What things should we be looking at? And also, what type of training will this person need to develop them? There should always be some type of buddy to boss. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but buddy to boss training, where a person goes from being non-management staff to a management level staff, because they get to understand that there's something that's different there. You can't have the same friendships with people when you become their supervisor. There's a boundary there that you have to, make sure that you don't cross. You have to create that boundary. And so going from buddy to boss, there should be some type of training there, leadership training on how to be a coach, how to mentor, how to have conversations and be tactful when having those conversations, even if they are difficult. There are so many areas with just a promotion. I'm using this because you gave that example, but so many areas with just a promotion that's important for HR to be a part of those conversations.
I am a huge advocate for leadership development and training, and I have the pleasure of doing that for companies and organizations that have done it for years. And I know the role, and I know the value of it. That's another thing. Sadly, a lot of companies don't value the training piece. And when the budget gets tight, they're like, we don't have time to develop people. It's like, that is crazy. That's like not watering your plant. It's like that's the most important thing you can do. If you're not helping those people get stronger and get better, you're going to have a sick or ill organization that's not as healthy as it should be. So it's huge. And I love the Buddy. I've never heard of Buddy the Boss. What is that? That's new? I'm going to steal that whole name and I'm going to do a training. Buddy the Boss coming soon. That is awesome, awesome stuff. So when it comes to HR, your favorite part, you would say, is training and development. Is that right?
Absolutely.
And that's because you see the need. So can you give us just some of the other pieces of human resources? What falls generally under that umbrella so people can have an overall understanding? We know training and development. We talked a little bit about sexual harassment, but maybe we don't understand how that falls in. But help us understand all the things that fall under the umbrella of HR.
So there are so many areas. So we talked about the training and development, like you said. We talked about sexual harassment. So that's under the employee relations umbrella. And there's a lot that goes into employee relations. When you talk about your discipline, implementing discipline policies and procedures, all of that is considered employee relations. There's also, your health and wellness, so your benefits, compensation. So pretty much everything that has anything to do with the employee, that is really under a human resources.
Right. Okay. So we have a question here from Mrs. Gloria Pope. She said, talk about the new manager who inherits bad employees because the former manager failed to address issues. So what do? The new manager inherits these employees. They got bad attitudes. They take their lunch breaks whenever they want. They come in. I used to have employees at one point. They came in to take a break. They came in, clocked in, and sat down and ate. I was like, wait, hold on. You just got here. What are you doing? So what do you do when you inherit bad employees and you're a leader? What do you do?
First of all, did you say her name was Gloria?
Yes.
I am so sorry if that has been your experience, because that is a horrible place to be in, position to be in. But I will tell you this: one of the first things you should do is have a conversation with your manager, because of course I'm pretty sure you have a manager. If that's the expectation of your manager, and if that is something that is allowed by your manager, you're going to have a very, very difficult time implementing whatever procedures and policies that you do have and enforcing those. The other thing that I would recommend that you would do also, probably maybe a little bit before you even have that conversation, is become very familiar, if you're not already, with what those policies are. For example, if a person is coming in and they're I'll use Lucas's example. They're coming in at 8 o'clock. They're supposed to be there at 8 o'clock. They get 2 15-minute breaks, throughout the day. Well, for 15 minutes in the first part of the day, they're snacking and they're talking. And then they turn around and at 10 o'clock, they're going to have a 15-minute break. And then at 1, they're going to have a 15-minute break. And, they already had their lunch at 12, right? So they're extending that. So basically what you have is someone who is taking an additional 30 minutes when that's not a part of your company culture, that's not a part of the policy. So what you do is you go back and you look at policy, and then you have a conversation with your manager and you say, listen, or you have a conversation with HR and you say, listen, this has been going on. I know it's been going on for years maybe. However, I can't run this operation the way you expect me to and the way I need to if this continues. Productivity will increase. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, Lucas. A lot of people don't understand that when you do encourage your employees to adhere to the rules and abide by those rules, a lot of the times you will see productivity increase. And it's not just because they're committing more time, but it's because it's just like children. They realize, okay, I am here for a reason. Right. She's not going to let me, or he's not going to allow me to get away with this stuff. Let me do my job. And a lot of the times they end up respecting you for it. In the very beginning, they won't, because of course they're not getting some benefit that they feel like they were receiving. But long term, they will. So have a conversation with your manager. Make sure you're up to date on your policies and you know your policies and what they are, and have that conversation with your manager so you can say, okay, what is the expectation here? Because it's not going to do you any good to go to, Sarah and, Jane over there if all they're going to do is go to your manager and your manager is going to tell them, oh, she's crazy, don't listen to her.
Right. Happens too often. Happens far too often. You confide in your friend at work, and then your friend happens to confide in the boss, and then you find yourself under the bus and you don't know what happened. So right. I love it. I love it. I love it. And Tisha, you've been amazing today. Great information, education, motivation, liberation. I think you set some people free in that they shouldn't have to worry that they are just a victim of whatever their job is doing. You also pointed out, I love that you shared your story about your dreads, and that you too, even as an HR professional, somebody who knows what's up, were being discriminated against, or they were trying to use this rule or this loophole to basically discriminate against you. So I think that's so important and powerful to somebody out there who's dealing with this right now and doesn't know what they're going to do. So thank you so much for that. I loved what you shared about sexual harassment, the awareness of men and women and the LGBTQ community. And then this law that was passed today, or this ruling that came forward from the Supreme Court today that guarantees rights to the LGBTQ community as far as they can't be discriminated against at work. I thank you so much. Can you tell our audience today, if they want to connect with you, if they want to know more about you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yes, absolutely. So if you want to view my website, you can go to www.makethechange.io. It's not a .net, .com, .gov, .org. It is .io. You can also reach me directly at Tisha D. That's TISHAD at makethechange.io. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Make the Change HR.
Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. You've been a wonderful guest. I want you to stay on the line here. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show her some love. And Tisha was so willing to come on and share some information here today. It's important. You guys know it's so important to me that we talk about diverse topics. We got to talk about different things. Different people are at different places in their life, in their career, and there's things that they want to know. There's things that they need to hear. There's things that they need to talk about. So I'm so glad we could bring that. This is something that I am passionate about. I've worked in HR for many years, and even now under my own company, under Tyndale Training, what I'm doing a lot of times, what you may not know, is reaching out and talking to corporations about doing trainings and developments. I'm in some negotiation with some trainings with some companies right now to do more of that. So I'm really, really excited about that. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for being here. JJ Lilly, Tamara Thomas. Tamara Thomas, I don't know if you're Tamara Thomas. Did I know Tamara Thomas? But welcome, Tamara Thomas. If you're Tamara Thomas, then I know Tamara Thomas. Really, really welcome. And if you're not the Tamara Thomas that I really know, welcome anyway. I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad to have you guys. Now listen, we're going to talk about something else today. We're doing some segments. You see, we're doing some new things sometime on the show. Sometime we'll have a guest for a part of the show and we'll have a segment. Some shows we're going to have two guests and other things are going to happen. So we're going to do something a little different today. So we started a conversation the other day, and I wanted to just add to that conversation because I think this conversation is going to take some time, and we're going to get into it. We've been talking about it a little bit more, so stay tuned. Whether you're single, dating, or married, I'd like you to stay tuned to have this brief conversation with us. We have been talking about why are you single? This is something that I'm passionate about as someone who cares a lot about those that are single, especially those that are looking to be married. And I know so many wonderful people who are single who want to be married. And I'm just like, what a shame. These are just amazing people. And my heart goes out to them because I just feel that they, just deserve a loving relationship. So why are you single is something that we started talking about again last week. I wrote down some points and we got through like two of them. So I'm going to continue to try to work our way through our Why Are You Single series. We'll do some separate shows about it as well to talk about it. And we're going to offer some other help and support. My wife and I also wrote this wonderful book. I want to show you guys here. There's actually a book for men and women. You guys reach out to me after the show if you guys want to know how to get a hold of this. I'm going to be sharing some more information really soon. See, it was written by Corinne Lucas and Corinne Marie Tyndale. That's me and my wife. There's a female. Wait, I got that backwards. There's a female version and a male version. Now, the books are actually the same, but they're different colors just to kind of denote. So if you're in a relationship, whose book is who, because you got to write some stuff down. You got to do some journaling. You got to do some self-reflection. You got to do some discussion. If you're in a relationship, you're going to have to rate your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend on some things, and together you're going to come up with a marriage plan. How about that? How about we come up with a plan on how we're going to have a successful marriage? How about we don't just hope, wish, and wait and think that it's going to all work out, and if they love me, they will do all the things that they should do to show me love. That is not true. Okay, I love my wife with all I have and all I am, but there are days where I'm not doing things right. I'm not doing things that are making her feel loved or appreciated. Or sometimes, as is discussed in the book, The 5 Love Languages, I'm doing things that would make me feel loved. And I'm imposing my love language on my wife, and I'm like, ta-da, like I did the thing that I needed, and I want you to be so happy and feel so loved. And she's looking at me like, that's not my thing though. Like, that's not what makes me feel loved. So it's so important that we learn those things and we talk about those things. Again, if you're single to the marriage plan and you want a copy of this book, just reach out to me. after the show, and I'm going to be sharing some links and stuff soon so you guys can get a hold of this. Thank you, Amanda Dukes. There was a small group of people, a small group of my wife and I's friends who got this book early, and they got to go through some training with us on that. We're going to be providing some training as well around this, and we're just so excited to get this out here and really start pushing it because it's already changing lives. Like, we see couples and it's literally bringing them back together. It's literally changing lives. We're also working with some singles, and those singles are preparing a marriage plan. They're starting to think about, what do they want? How many kids do they want? Do they already have kids? Do they want to blend families? How do they handle finances? How do they handle things within themselves? So it's helping them prepare as well. So we're so excited about that. We're really, really excited about doing more with that. So you guys make sure you reach out to me, Facebook, Messenger, text me, call me, email me, Lucas at lucaslivemedia.com. I should put that on the screen. I could do that. You know what I'm going to do? Contact at lucaslivemedia.com. Look at that. I got control of the show. Look at that. I can just throw stuff up there. Look at that. Oh, look. See, I got to stretch that out, though. Wait, let me stretch that out. Oh, look at that. Boom. Contact at lucaslivemedia.com if you're interested in getting your hands on the marriage plan, whether you're single, dating, or married. Please reach out to me. My wife and I wrote this book together. It was a fun project we had together. Yes, we argued a couple times as we were working on it, but that's what makes the book so real, okay? All right. Make sure you guys check that out. So let's talk about it a little bit more in our last few minutes. Why are you single? You can still share this broadcast. Why are you single? So I made some notes here, and let me go down. Let me get on my list. One of the things I said was, do you believe a man has to chase a woman? Now, I'm not going to get into that. We talked about that. If you didn't see that episode, go back on Lucas Live Media on Facebook and watch that, okay? Go back and check that out. Do you believe a man has to chase a woman? We talked about it, and I think we came to a place where we realized if you're always waiting for a man to chase you, you may miss a good man who's not, who may not have the confidence to chase you, or he may not know if you're available, or any number of things. Not that you necessarily have to go chase him, but you can't be afraid. And we talked about my friend Sana, who was on the show, and she talked about the fact that she walked into a church and she seen this man as she was walking up the steps, and God said, "That's your husband." And she went up to him after church. She said, "Use my husband." No, she didn't say that. She said, "Hey, nice to meet you." And she asked for his number. And he said, "I don't give my number to women in church." And she said, "Cool. Well, my brother-in-law is here, or my cousin's husband is here. Why don't you go ahead and give it to my man over there? He'll give it to me. Let's work it out that way." And he did. And she's been married to this man for over a decade, okay? She was not afraid to go for what she wanted. So don't be afraid, ladies and gentlemen, both ways. We have to be willing to go for what we want. So let's see. What else? Let's look at another reason. I'm not going to go over the other ones because I did go over a couple other ones here. Let me look at this. All right, let's look at this one. And this is one I know we're going to have to talk about some more, but let's talk about it briefly tonight. Do you self-sabotage when things are going too good? Somebody else out there watching this live or by replay, or you know somebody like this. If you know somebody like this, say, "I know that person," or say, "That person is me." In the comments, let us know. Do you self-sabotage? There are so many people who self-sabotage when things are getting too good. There are people who are stable in instability. They're comfortable in discomfort. They just don't know it. They have been maltreated, and they have therefore maladapted. So because they've gone through maybe a life of trauma and drama and stress, they're used to a rocky boat. They don't feel like they're even on the boat if the boat ain't rocking. And when they get on the boat and the boat's sitting still, they don't feel safe and secure because they want to know the boat is still there. They want to know the boat still cares. If you cared, you'd get upset sometimes. If you cared, you'd raise your voice sometimes. You wouldn't disrespect me, but at least I'd feel the passion in your voice when you said, "No, it's not going down like that," or whatever it is. There are so many people out there that self-sabotage because for some reason they are stable in instability, or they're comfortable in discomfort. Is that you? Is that somebody you know? Think about that today. Somebody out there is single because every time you're with somebody and things start going good, you start finding something wrong because that's just how you are. That's just your nature. You are comfortable when things aren't right. It makes you feel more loved. We have to get over that. That is such a dangerous place to be, such a dangerous place to live. You are going to miss out on something great because you are messing up the thing for yourself. Somebody else out there has to stop self-sabotaging. And here's the crazy part. There's a lot of self-sabotagers out there, and they know they do it. And they'll admit it to other people. Okay, thank you, JJ Lilly. JJ Lilly said, "I have numerous times." There are people out there who admit it. They're like, "Yes, that's been me," or "That is me. I don't know why I do it when things are getting too good. I do something, I say something, I look for trouble, you accuse them of something. We have to stop self-sabotaging. Now, this doesn't just romantic relationships. People do this with friendships. People do this with jobs. People do this with so many things. If you have become comfortable in uncomfortable situations, it's probably because you had to. The root of it is not your fault. You probably had to because of your life experience. You probably had to because of the things you've gone through. You probably had to learn how to just maintain in a crazy situation simply because your childhood was filled with trauma. It was filled with all kinds of uncertainty. And so you just adapted, and that feels normal. Also, oftentimes, depending on how our parents treat us, we accept that as love, and then we expect that as love. Okay, let me say that again. We accept that as love. So your parent may raise their voice at you, and you accept that as love. And then when you're with somebody, if they're not raising their voice, you expect that as love because you expect that someone who loves you is going to get upset sometime and they're going to raise their voice. And although you may not want them raising their voice at you, you still see it as love because the people who loved you did it. Okay? You also may be used to when people get upset, they leave each other. They storm out. They stop talking for a while. They go to bed angry. Any number of things that you may have seen in your life. And now you see it as normal. For some reason, dysfunction becomes functional to you. It is an adaptive state that humans have. It is very human of you to do that, okay? We have an amazing ability to adapt to any situation or circumstance. Your brain, your body is built on self-preservation. It is always finding a way to help you survive the worst situations in the world. That's why we go into shock. Think about that. If you get stabbed or shot, your body goes into shock to shut things down, to slow things down. Because if you were fully alert, your adrenaline would be pumping and your heart would be pumping too fast and you would bleed out. But first, maybe that's what's going on in your body. It's like, no. Let's shut it down. Let's shut it down. Let's shut it down. Let's slow it down. Let's slow it down. Let's slow it down. Because it's saying to you, it's saying, wait a minute, I need to do something to save you from you. Okay. So even when you go into shock. So again, in relationships, there are people who are sabotaging the thing. There's a lady out there right now. You got a good man. There's a man out there right now. You got a good woman. But you keep trying to find, every time they walk down the street, you're like, what you looking at? Was you looking at that woman? I saw the way you was looking at her. He like, girl, I ain't looking, what? Leave me alone. Or the vice versa. The man is with a good woman. He like, I know you probably been trying to talk to some other dudes, I'm sure, who been in your DMs. I need to check, I need to know, because I'm pretty sure I know how women are. And they messing stuff up. Okay. And sometimes you accuse somebody of something so long until I think Keisha Cole said, I should have cheated. She said, you accused me so much, I should have just did it. You wear them out, and they're so sick and tired of you saying that they've done something they didn't do. They're so tired of being guilty until proven innocent that sometimes they start doing things that they weren't doing before. Be careful, ladies and gentlemen. Be careful, be careful, be careful. All right. Let's shout out to those in the audience who are commenting. I appreciate your comments. Sharice grabs my seat. She said, please don't raise your voice at me. Thanks, management. Thank you so much for management. Don't raise your voice at her. She ain't playing it. She's not comfortable with that. Don't do it. I see you guys tagging some people. Thank you guys so much for doing that. It's so important for us to realize that sometimes we are single or here's another crazy situation. There are some people who are going to be single soon and they don't even know it. I'm going to be quiet for a second in case y'all get mad at me. There are some people who are in a relationship right now and you about this close to being single and you just don't know it. The other person is fed up and they tired of you. They're doing the right things, but you keep accusing them of doing wrong and they're tired of it. Every time things start going good, you start complaining about what else you need. Every time they do one thing right, you start talking about 10 more things they need to do right. They are exhausted. They are tired of you. Okay? We have to work on that. Too many people who could have worked aren't together anymore. I believe people don't realize that some of the relationships from their past could have worked if they were as mature. If the two people were as mature as you are today, that relationship yesterday would have worked. And sometimes the only reason you weren't mature enough yesterday was because you wouldn't submit to the idea that maybe you needed to grow up and do some things differently. We have to get to a point where we realize that I have to change. And furthermore, in a relationship, if you spend your whole life trying to get the other person to change and you spend no time in the mirror trying to change yourself, you're never going to win. I tell people all the time, We love windows and we hate mirrors. Mirrors force us to look at ourselves. Windows allow us to look out at everybody else. It is really nice to have windows in your house. You can let sunshine in. You can look out at the storm and not be harmed. You can look out at the neighbors and their drama, and you can watch it from the window. But when you look in the mirror and that storm is in your life, when you look in that mirror and that hate is in your heart, when you look in that mirror and you don't want to looking mad all the time and stressed and upset and never happy, and you don't love you and you don't love them and you don't love anybody, you have to be willing to face the person in the mirror so that you can make change, so that you can have the healthy relationships you want. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate that. Yes, Shannon Kimball, she said, just like with the kids, we have to choose our battles. Absolutely. If you're in a relationship and you don't know how to choose your battles, you're not going to be in a relationship long. Everything is not worth fighting for. Everything is not worth arguing over. Who cares? You got to start asking yourself, like, do I really care? Sometimes we argue simply not to lose ground. Right? We argue because we're afraid that it's like a war. And the more I lose, the more the other person thinks they get to win every time. And I don't want to set a precedence in my relationship that says my wife is the winner all the time. So I got to win some of these arguments. Even so much so until sometime maybe I want to start an argument that I think I can win. People are messing up their own relationships. We got to do better. We got to fix it. I want to help people with that. It's something I'm passionate about. Again, if you're interested in knowing more information about the marriage plan, creating a vision for forever together, subtitled by my wife and I, please contact me. I put the contact information up here earlier. I'll put it back up here for you guys. If you want to reach out to me, please reach out to me at contact@lucaslivemedia.com. I think that's so important. Let's see. We got another comment here. Oh, wait, I'm putting too much on the screen at once. Okay. Mrs. Gloria Pope, she said, perhaps issues were not worked out on the front end. Waiting until it can be resolved at the back end does not work. When you are dating, that is when your list of expectations should be met. Amen and hallelujah. I absolutely agree. We got to talk about it on the front end. What happens on the front end, though, is rose-colored glasses. On the front end, we are infatuated and we think we are in love. And sometimes we're not in love, we're infatuated, or we are in lust. Okay, we are in lust. And that's not an evil thing. You're lusting. Oh, it's evil. You're naturally built to lust. You're naturally built to have a desire for someone. You are a sexual creature. That's how humans were made. So that is not evil, let's say. What's wrong is what you do with it, right? You could do something that is not good with that desire. Hopefully that strong desire you have for that person causes you to build a healthy relationship. But what often happens is it causes us not to talk about what needs to be talked about because we don't want to really get into it, because we don't want to lose it, because we just want that person so bad. I'm longing for them. I want this relationship. I want this person. And oftentimes we find ourselves in a bad situation. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank you guys so much for us continuing that conversation. I thank you guys for joining us today for our wonderful guests today. I know there are people out there who are going to be watching this by replay. There were issues with T-Mobile's network and Sprint's network, and I know people's phones aren't working tonight, and there's been a lot going on. And so I'm grateful for everybody who came on live, and to those who are watching this by replay, we thank you for always participating, always being here with us. Continue to stay tuned. We have other great guests tomorrow night. A great friend of mine, Mr. Randy Sistrunk, is going to be on the show. He's going to share his story about coming up in a very rough part of Ohio in the Cleveland area and coming to a new school and trying to turn things around and going to college and still making mistakes and having a child young. And he has quite a story to tell. And now is a very successful man and doing some wonderful, wonderful things for the community and for others. And I look forward to hearing his story tomorrow. Mr. Randy Sistrunk will be on tomorrow night. You guys don't want to miss it. And on Wednesday, we have Miss Nicole Walters from NicoleWalters.com with the 1K One Day program and so many other things. She's been on Fox News and Good Morning America and Women's Magazine and all these other places. She will be on Wednesday. And we are going to have a great time. I promise. You guys don't want to miss the rest of the week. So thank you guys so much for your love and support. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. I look forward to seeing you guys then. Everybody have a great night.